my name's Ashley, and you're on with Wake Up People. This is a show where we interview real people about real social issues. Today I am interviewing Kathy Rapsky.
Hi.
Kathy is a family friend. She's someone that I consider like a second mother. She is best friends with my mom, and today she came on the show because she wants to talk about anxiety and depression. So, Kathy, why don't you start off by talking about how you got diagnosed?
Well, I think I had it most of my life and didn't really know I had it. I was just, thinking that I was weird, you know what I mean? Or, I was just different than other people. But then as it turns out, I used to compensate by doing everything for everybody else, taking care of everyone else. That way I didn't have to focus on myself. Well, eventually, after that happens, your battery runs out, and then what happened to me is I eventually broke, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't leave my house, or I didn't want to leave my house. I was afraid to leave my house. And then so I went to the doctors because I was feeling sick all the time, and tired, and it was affecting my work and everything. So my doctor had told me to leave work, and then she tried putting me on different medications, which work for so many people. But I tried several medications. They just didn't react with me well. So it took me a very long time. But then I took group therapy, which was actually free. At least where I'm from. I was very surprised by that because my doctor had asked me if I considered therapy. And I said, well, yes, but I don't have the money to do that. And it took me a very long time to go on disability as well. It took me over a year. That was really hard. But then I went, I took about 6 years of group therapy, not straight, just in short, periods of time or whatever. And I'm actually doing much better now. And it's not until you start feeling better that you realize you had, it had such an effect on you because you're just so used to having it. You don't, you've always had it. So it's not as if you have anything else to compare it to. So now that I'm able to control it a little bit better, then I noticed oh wow, I was really, really messed up back then.
So was there a breaking point? Were you a different person before this started, or was it kind of always a part of you?
Well, I noticed that I started becoming an angry person. I think it happened gradually. Now, at my worst, yes, I find that I was a different person then because I had zero patience. I started yelling at everyone and thinking that everyone was against me, the world was against me, and I was sad all the time. I couldn't go a day without crying all the time, and it was very difficult. And I think I noticed at once when I went to work and my body literally would not allow me to go through the door. And I think that's when I realized that I needed to get help. And help is available if you look for it. Some of it's free, some of it's not. I understand that a lot of people can't afford therapy, and that's okay. But I mean, there's tons of websites, for meditation, for anxiety and depression. You just gotta look for it, which is not ideal, you know what I mean? But there are numbers that you can call from people who've actually gone through anxiety and depression and can help you out.
Is there a particular website or something that you often turn to, or something that kind of puts you in a good spot when you're going through that, or?
Well, I just remember me personally, I just remember what I learned in therapy, and I go through my notes that I've taken in therapy and when practice the steps that I've learned. But during therapy, they gave different websites, but we always just Google searched, anxiety and depression, meditations, or, steps to help on really bad occasions and whatnot like that.
Yeah, I like some of your advice. You even helped me because I have anxiety and depression as well, and I remember I'd go through moments and you'd be like, "This is what I learned from therapy.
Yeah,
you should do this." Obviously, therapy doesn't work for everyone, but for a lot of people, it is really effective, and especially in your case, it has helped a lot.
Well, I noticed that a lot of people going to therapy, a lot of what they said is that they didn't know, they just said, well, that's just the way I am, I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't change the way my brain thinks, and that's not entirely true. You can. It's just difficult, and you have to work at it, and it takes a long time. Because you're basically, your anxiety puts, like, in the depression.
Yeah.
If your mind goes through a cycle, and it's basically like going through a very beautifully paved trail with, street lights and benches and everything, and it's very easy to walk through. So of course your brain is going to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
What you're basically having to do is go down the unbeaten path or whatever, where you have to take your mental machete and literally make a new trail, cut down trees and, do everything like that. And it takes a long time, but it is worth it. It is very worth it. Like, I find, like, I'm more at ease with myself now than I've ever been.
Is there anything that you could share with people that they kind of spoke to you about in therapy that might help another person? Like a specific thing that they did for you? Or?
Well, not something that they did. It's just certain, certain, exercises that, that they, and information that they've told me that has helped quite a bit. Such as a lot of anxiety it's too much oxygen in your system. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're saying, it's cliche for a reason, that breathing and exercising is perfect for that. Because what happens is that you have so much and then it's almost like you're hyperventilating and you're getting into all this oxygen and it's making you frightened. So what they told us to do is just breathe in through your nose and then breathe out until you can't breathe out anymore. Like, that one moment where you have to breathe in again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just breathe out, like, wait a couple seconds and then breathe in through your nose. Another thing that they said is that there's nothing wrong with the thoughts that you're having. They're your emotions. That's fine. Just be aware of them. Be mindful of your thoughts. And they don't judge them because they're your thoughts. And just say, oh, well, that's what I'm thinking today. You know what I mean? And then gently and non-judgmentally bring it, what we did is that they said concentrate on something that you love, or concentrate on your breathing, or concentrate on your head, and then work your way down. Like, if you can't think of a situation, just saying, let's say, concentrate on your head, and then concentrate on your shoulders, your arms, your stomach, your breathing, like, your chest going in and out, and then your mind will wander. Guaranteed, it's just normal. But when that happens, just say, oh, my mind wandered. Let's bring it back to what I was thinking. And do that, 10, 15 minutes, and then that usually calms you down enough to get a handle on things again.
Yeah.
There's also a list of unhelpful thoughts. The word should. That brings a lot of anxiety to people. Because things rarely, almost never happens the way they should happen. It's like radical acceptance. It's accept things you cannot change. That's another one. Because I used to be like, oh, well, that shouldn't happen. And this should. I was always shoulding myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what made me remember that one specifically. But so I literally stopped shitting myself, and and just kind of radically accepting things that I couldn't change, and taught my brain to think differently about it. So now instead of I see something happen, and if I think automatically, it's like, oh, he's a jerk, blah blah blah. I try to think, I was like, well, why is he doing that, and think of a better way, like, well, maybe he's going through this or whatever, and it just makes things a lot easier for me.
So, a common thing, like even with me having depression and anxiety, is people ask me, what's the best way to communicate with you? Like, when I'm upset with you, like, what is the way that I should approach you? So what is some advice you would give someone who...
Well, if you're trying to talk to somebody with anxiety and depression, don't just tell them, it's like, well, get over it. It's like, well, thank you very much, like, well, I never thought of just getting over it, that's almost insulting, on an intellectual level and an emotional level. Because if it was that easy, you don't think we would do that? But just like, I understand, you're going to be fine. Breathe, and I am here for you. You have no idea what those sentences could do for a person who's going through depression and anxiety.
They just need to be reminded that.
And just
they're
reminded,
loved.
like, or I love you, or I'm here for you. You know, just.
I care.
I care, yeah, basically, and make an effort. You know, and it's not easy going through what we're going through, and we also don't want to be feeling what we're feeling. You know what I mean?
No.
And we don't want to be yelling at you because we're stressed out, and we feel bad when we do. Well, at least I felt bad when, you know, I would like my anxiety got so bad that I just started yelling at people willy nilly, and to people that didn't deserve to be yelled at. You know, and I felt guilty for a very, very long time. And I spent a lot of time after therapy apologizing to people like crazy. But it's not something that we mean to do, and it's not an excuse to do it either. No. But it does happen, and you have to forgive yourself, and you're human, and we have too much information. We're not equipped. Because throughout history, like, we're at a period where we know too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because before, information wasn't as easy to get a hold of. You would have to go to a library, search for the right book, find the place in the right book, and then take the time to read it. Now we're just hearing things. And it's just basically, it's too much for a lot of people to handle, you know? Certain things like that.
Yeah, so sometimes just having like a quiet moment with someone instead of them talking about something that might trigger you. Is that what you mean by that? Like, but it's too much.
Or even asking them, like, is there anything I can do?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, just listen, or just give me some space, or let's watch this movie, or listen to this type of music. You know, they're not trying to, or at least I wasn't, when I asked for this, I wasn't trying to monopolize what we were doing. It was just something that I needed to, you know, like, and I was lucky enough that people cared about me, and I had a great circle, and I had very supportive people around me, and I know that a lot of people don't have that, because a lot of people don't understand what we're going through. But I was lucky enough that people cared enough about me to, you know, to help me out, and to give me what I needed to get better, and I did.
And what would you say to someone who doesn't have that circle? Where do you think they should go?
Well, there's phone numbers you can call. There's warm lines you can call. Like I said, just look online. Just say phone numbers for anxiety in whatever town or city that you live in. You could usually find places you can talk to, or even your own family doctor can give you local numbers or local places that you can go, because most doctors will have that information and will gladly give it to you.
Well, it's been really great having you on the show.
I thank you very much.
It was very insightful.
And you're stronger than you think, and you can do it.
And I think you gave a lot of great advice that I think a lot of people can use very well. And it's important to note that depression and anxiety isn't the same for everyone, so your experience might be different than Kathy's, but she wanted to kind of give you an insight on what she's gone through, and maybe some insight on how you should talk to people who have depression and anxiety. It doesn't mean that you should treat them with kid gloves. I know a lot of people don't want that at all.
No.
But it's being respectful about their illness
or being patient with us.
Yeah.
Just be patient with us, because we want to get better too, you know?
Yeah, and never tell someone to
get over it.
Get over it.
That's just wrong.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. There'll be more coming soon. We're going to have more great guests, and thanks again.
And don't forget, wake up, people.
Wake up.